Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Silver Years. My name is DK, and I'm very happy to be here. And I humbly thank you for joining me. Today is a new segment of My Story Time. And for those who don't know, My Story Time is where I tell my story, unscripted and usually unedited, as a way to counter the ever changing official narrative of history, his story. Because no one, not even AI, can tell my life story as a direct reflection of the times in which I lived better than me. And this is where I'm telling it. But before I begin with today's story, I want to make a couple of clarifications to my previous story time video titled, I Got Fired for Doing My Job. When retelling my experience, I had mentioned that after I got fired from that bank job, I went to work for Gog of Magog, which was incorrect. I don't know what I was thinking. I was rambling. But I got my timelines confused because I skipped a job in between, a big one, actually. So when I left the bank, I went to work at the company I discussed in two of my videos, one of them being Swimming with the Fishes, and the other one being The Not So United Way. This is the time that I worked with Howard. So just a little correction and clarification. Again, I realized after I posted it that I had my timelines messed up. So I just wanted to correct that over here. Oh, technically. Okay, now and I got one other small correction I'd like to make is to the post I did Mother's Day surprise Montana style. I had said that my mother left her luggage at security in Salt Lake City and didn't realize it until my friend, Sonny, had pointed it out as they were walking to the gate to board the plane to get to what to get to Montana. Yes, she had left her one bag at security, but she had also left her purse. Okay, I neglected to say she had left her purse. It seems she ran everything through the x ray and forgot to collect any of it as she met up with the other ladies excitedly and began walking with them to the boarding gate. Okay, it's one thing to leave your luggage, and it's quite another to leave your purse as well, which would be typical of something my mother would do. And it was her reaction that made it so funny, her nonchalance. And yes, it was all there waiting for her when she walked back to retrieve it. So it had a happy ending. But I just wanted to clarify those two issues before I get on to the next. So now let's go on to my new story. The story that wants to be told today is coming in from Christmas time, 1982. And it begins in Littleton, Colorado, where I was living at the time. Like I said, it was Christmas time. All of my family was in town visiting for the holiday, which was highly unusual. They didn't usually come to visit me until after Christmas, like before New Year's, but they all came, even my grandmother, my mother's mother, which was a first. Okay, now this, like I said, this grandmother was my mother's mother. And my mother's mother, from the time I was born, had always refused to be called grandma or any version thereof, and has insisted from immediacy that we call her mom instead. Which, as we all, as there were more of us, now I have four sisters who are younger than me. If you haven't, some of my other videos talk about the pecking order, but um, it with everybody calling her mom and our mother mom, it would just was proved so very confusing over time. So we ultimately identified her as Mom Krek, just to separate her from our own mother. And it's a long story about where we got Mom Krek. I'm not getting into that today. But Mom Krek had an interesting and very difficult life history that we won't go into right now. But suffice to say, she was fun. She enjoyed having fun and could be a lot of fun. She had a great sense of humor, but she also had a shadow side that was quite unforgiving and prone to holding serious grudges for perceived slights. She and her sister, she only had one sister. They were on again, off again all their lives. I mean, one minute they're best friends, the next minute they're the worst enemies. And this went on, this went on all their lives, all the way to the end. And for me, my misfortune was that I happened to have locked horns with her when I was about 15 or 16 years old, and she never forgave me or got over it until she was near death. And I will just say that she and I locked horns because she was overstepping her boundaries, and she didn't like being called on it. But let me just say, she didn't, all most of my adult life, she could never get past that with me. There was always that thing that was kind of in between us. So in 1982, she came to Littleton, Colorado with my mother and siblings for the holidays. Okay. And then she decided, oh, let's back up. Her and her sister, she decided she wanted a family photo, but her concept of what she wanted that to look like was based on something she had done with her sister. Now, she and her sister had gone to, you remember those photo studios? They used to have them in malls or at different, tourist locations. They had these vintage photograph studios where you could dress up like a saloon girl or a cowboy or whatever you want. You could dress up in this vintage clothing and you could pose, and they would take your picture. Um, and they would, you could buy the picture and it would be sepia looking, so it'd look all old fashioned. Okay, my grandmother, Mom Krek, had a one of these pictures done with her and her sister, and she loved it. It was like her favorite thing, most prized possession, was this picture she had with her and her sister. And she decided she wanted a picture with all of us in this vintage format. And let me just say, it was Christmas time. So you had a whole group of us, myself and my four sisters. So there were us, my oldest daughter, my one sister had a daughter. So we had two grandchildren, my grandmother, my mother. So there was a huge group of us that she wanted all in this. And I understand why she wanted it. We were all there. And it was one of those moments you have to take advantage of. Everybody's there, everybody's present. So she was adamant that we go and do this. Okay, in concept, nobody really had a problem with it, but we had to do it on this day. And I think it was Christmas Eve, to be honest. And in this year, it was storming fiercely and it was nasty cold. The roads were icy, treacherous. The conditions were treacherous. And the only place we could find open one of these vintage studios, in fact, the only place we could find one altogether, was in the Aurora Mall, which, if you know the Denver metro area, Littleton is clear on the west side, on the foothills, in the mountains, basically. And Aurora is way out on the other side. Now, Aurora's out like by where they have now Denver International Airport. It's way out on the other side. But at the time in 1982, now they have a big highway that's South Metro that's called C470. But at the time, C470 didn't exist. It was called County Line Road, and it was just a 2-lane road, and that was the only way for us from Littleton to get over to the Aurora side to go to this Aurora Mall. So it was a 2-lane icy road, like I said, treacherous. Took us a long time to get there, and we're probably looking 35-40 mile drive. And nobody was happy about it. It took several cars to get there. We all couldn't fit into one, and nobody was happy about it. But we did go, and we did do it. And the picture that came out of it was my grandmother, all happy. She was the only one. Every other face on that picture was everyone. Nobody was happy about being there. Nobody was happy about it at all. And what we learned later was, myself, I didn't know it at the time, but I was pregnant with my second daughter, as was my sister, whose child was there as well. She was pregnant with her second child too. She was staying with me at the time. So we were both pregnant at the same time in this picture and didn't know it. But let me just say, we got the picture, and I'm really glad I have it. Um, but the story behind it and all the sour faces is that nobody wanted to do it. My grandmother didn't care. She wanted, all she cared about was getting her way, and she got her way, and she got her picture, and we all got it as a side. And no, nobody's complaining about having it. So we're all very, very glad that we did that. And then later, of course, we had Christmas dinner during that visit, and Christmas wasn't a holiday we were big into in my house. I didn't make the traditional Christmas dinner. In fact, I made enchiladas. Now, in some parts of the world, enchiladas might have been considered a good Christmas dinner. Actually, tamales maybe more, but um, I made enchiladas, which of course, well, that then upset my grandmother even further because she didn't have a traditional Christmas dinner. So everybody heard her bitch for decades about the day, the Christmas where she had to have enchiladas. Okay, whatever. All right, that's just a side note. But about 13 years later, by that time, I think I was living in Montana. I was in Montana by this time, and it was Mother's Day, and I had sent this grandmother who still was on the fence with me after all this time. I had sent her a nice Mother's Day card, which I did every year, but this particular year I had sent her a Mother's Day card and thanked her for being the mother of us all, and some other nice things that I said, and I didn't think much of it. Well, after, I don't know, maybe a week later or whatever, I got a phone call from her in Montana, which shocked me. And she was in tears, thanking me for this card and thanking me for what I said. And she couldn't believe that I felt that way. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, she was the one who, I didn't say this to her, but she was the one who had the grudge. She was the one who had the problem. I did not have a problem with her per se, but she had the problem. So we had a very lovely conversation after this Mother's Day as a result of this card I had sent. And 2 weeks later, she was gone. So I'm grateful for the family photo she made us all take, and I'm grateful that we had an opportunity to heal some of her discord with me prior to her passing. So uh, it was a gift for everyone involved, and I think all said and done, it was positive. It was just kind of the way it came around and why certain things are the way they are. I am grateful she made us all go that day. Is icky as it was having to do that, the outcome was worth it. So, in conclusion, and for whatever it's worth, this is my little protest against his story. This is me telling my story my way. For the record, it's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I would love to hear your stories as well. So please feel free to share your stories in the comments. Until next time, be well, choose love, and thank you. Thank you for listening. Goodbye for now.